Well, that was exhilarating and extraordinary. Give it up virtually for Ziggy and Miles Johnston. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
That
Thanks for having
was
us.
extraordinary. I was kind of like out there gripped by that last piece. It's kind of amazing. I thought actually you might be interested to know that I think I told you this before, in the second Sound Gallery sessions, Hong Pham, the Melbourne-based concert pianist, played the Moonlight Sonata. He was watching tonight. We saw him comment. So thanks for watching, Tom Gutteridge. That's great.
I'll look forward to seeing that comment.
Yeah, it's positive. I recall. I wanted to ask you guys just to tell us a little bit more about your experience of New York and how you came to first be there and how you came to come back.
So yeah, we started studying there. We're both studying a Master of Music degree, but we're both studying solo. So we're not actually studying as a duo. We're just studying individually. But then we have worked in duo stuff into our, weekly schedule and all that kind of stuff.
We're kind of maxing out our units on chamber music.
Yeah,
as a duo and also with other musicians.
Yeah. And so yeah, we went over there in the end of August last year. And then everything was really good. And then it got to about March, and then they pretty much told us to leave the dorms really, really soon. And then 3 days later, we booked a flight to come back. So it's like while we were there, it was the best 7 months of our life. It was absolutely incredible.
If only it was 9 months.
Yeah, if only it was 9 months.
So you're going back? Is that the plan?
Yeah. So we're kind of waiting to hear what happens officially. They've changed the way that first and second semester works. So normally it's about 15 weeks each semester. The next year, so the first semester is going to be 21 weeks, and then second semester is going to be 13 or 14?
Yeah, something like that. So instead of the year finishing in mid-May, it's going to finish in June instead.
Yes, and they're trying to hopefully get everyone back in New York, ready to study in person by October, November?
Yeah, I think end of October.
It must be so difficult. I mean, I guess that's the problem that everyone's facing now is how do you plan for something when the pandemic doesn't really care what you're planning and is kind of taking its own course. So
yeah, we've heard that they've got plan A, B, C,
D. I can well imagine.
They've planned for every possible thing, apparently.
That's amazing. Well, look, I have to say I'm very glad that you were back here and were able to do that concert because it really was fantastic.
Thanks very much.
Thanks. I imagine you'll get a little bit better at Juilliard, but I can't imagine how much more. It's kind of hard to imagine. We've got some questions from the audience. Mm-hmm. Actually, I thought just before we get to them, we've got one hanging there, but one of the backstage crew actually asked a question about your guitars. Mm-hmm. And I wondered if you could tell us just a little bit about who made them, where they're from, and how you came to be in possession of two obviously pretty fantastic guitars.
So I play a lattice brace guitar by Dominic Roscioli, who is a Adelaide guitar maker.
And my guitar is made by Jim Redgate, who's also an Adelaide guitar maker. And this guitar I actually won in the Adelaide guitar competition. And it's a stunning, stunning instrument. And so Jim Redgate, the guy that made my guitar, is kind of like the... how do I say this? Okay, let me rephrase this. The guy that made... Dominic Roscioli, the guy that made Ziggy's guitar, he's the apprentice maker of Jim Redgate, the guy that made my guitar. So that's why our guitars sound so similar. It's because they're made by, kind of the same makers, essentially.
Kind of. Previously, Miles was playing also before Miles won his guitar, he was playing a Dominic Roscioli guitar as well. And our guitars were made together at the same time, so...
Right.
Yeah.
So this is maybe a technical question, but is it in some ways better to have two different or guitars by different makers because you get different intonations and more colour in the performance?
In some ways. Ironically, the biggest difficulty for us, Miles's guitar is a very, very loud guitar. So when he originally got his guitar, he had to spend a lot of time trying to work to match my dynamics.
Right.
Because it's everything's just loud. If we're playing, if Miles goes full blast with the loud, I won't be able to be heard.
Right, so
or not as much anyway.
Kind of Spinal Tap, turning it up to 11.
So, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Do you reckon we should get to some questions from
Yeah.
the audience? We have one here from Ray Liang, who asked, how did you both get into learning guitar?
Well,
Great question.
So our parents just kind of said, hey, you guys learning guitar one day. So our parents are both sort of, amateur guitar enthusiasts at home. And they realized the benefits of learning an instrument from a young age. And we were very fortunate enough to have a fantastic guitar teacher in our area, Peter Draper, who was a Suzuki guitar teacher, and we were Suzuki trained students.
Yeah, we both started when we were about 5 years old. Miles a bit younger, me slightly older. Basically, when we were in prep, and our guitar teacher, he taught us classical, but he also taught us blues and rock and a bit of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, did that sort of make a difference to retention, as it were, at that age, do you think?
I don't think so. Like, we grew up with rock, like AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, Beatles, the classics.
Didn't play us any AC/DC. What?
We need to arrange that first. We'll get around to that.
But for retention, like at that age, it just feels good to use your hands.
Yeah, right.
So from what I've found, and also because we're both Suzuki teachers, which we haven't been teaching in the past year for obvious reasons. But before that, like a lot of students that grew up knowing or not even knowing what classical music is, they were captivated as they kept doing it because they found something to enjoy in it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, it's great. We have a question from Sarah Doherty here. Are there any artists you'd love to collaborate with, classical or otherwise?
I think the biggest artist that we'd love to collaborate with is the Gregorian brothers, obviously, who are, in our opinion, one of the best guitar duos in the world.
Slava is, was our teacher before he studied at Juilliard. So, that if that happens, it's going to be a way down the line once, because we want to do our own thing, and there's many things that we want to do that no other musicians are doing, or at least no guitarists are doing currently. But like, we love collaborating, and any interesting projects or great musicians, we just love to collaborate with.
Yeah, and the more people you collaborate with, the more you learn as well. And playing, that's something that we both learned at Juilliard, is playing with lots of different musicians just gives you something so unique that you can't really learn from doing anything else.
Yeah. So is that part of the Juilliard program to put you into collaborative relationships with musicians playing other instruments and so on?
Not exactly. Juilliard is kind of strange because in masters, in undergrad, everyone knows each other, but in masters, it feels like most students just go to the school, do their work, then do their own thing.
Right.
So the good and bad thing about that is anything is possible in a way. If you've got a project that you want to make happen, they can help you. If you want to do a unique performance, there's ways for doing that. But you have to be very self-motivated to be able to do that. They don't just put everything on a platter and say, here's this. It's more like, if you want to do something, they can help make it happen.
So the collaborations you did came out of your efforts to kind of
essentially.
That's great.
The collaboration that we did with Two Dancers, that was sort of, that was an example of this, where they had this idea and they'd heard another different duo play Claire de Lune, and they said, can you guys do this yourself? And we're like, sure, why not? And then we also did another extremely great collaboration with a bunch of other people as part of Juilliard's Chamberfest, which we did the American premiere of a piece by Philip Houghton called The Light on the Edge. And this piece was for 2 guitars, harp, double bass, didgeridoo, and recorded environmental sounds.
And percussion.
And percussion, yeah. Can't forget percussion.
Yeah. Although I will say one thing, we didn't get to do as much as we wanted to because of visa restrictions, because first year studying in the States, you can't do any work for anyone other than the university. So even if it's another student, technically they're hiring us instead of the university, so we can't do that.
Right. Frustrating.
It's
well, hopefully
complex.
when you get back, this will be more possible. We've got a question from Damien Boyle. How do you manage to practice on your own when you're living in the same house? And is this the same when you're in New York City?
Well, so obviously we live in different rooms, so that helps. But when we were in New York, we were living in the same room because in the dorms we were just sharing a bunk bed essentially. And we would take it in turns, one of us going to one of the practice rooms and the other one practicing in our bedroom. And we just take turns every day. And
I will say though, because when we were auditioning for universities in America, we were literally in the same hotel room practicing at the same time as each other for like 4+ hours every day.
yeah.
So we're used to like doing our own thing with tons of noise going on.
That shows concentration. I definitely couldn't do that. We've got another question from Katie. How does it feel being back at Monash? What are some of your favourite memories of studying here?
Well, first of all, it feels really good to be back, especially in such a great performance space such as this. Like this Alexander Theatre wasn't really here while we were studying here. It was being built at the time,
Or it was much different. It wasn't as well state of the art as it is currently.
Yeah, it's currently phenomenal. And then in terms of best memories studying, again, I got to say it's just collaborating with other musicians and also other musicians from different styles, because obviously the Monash program has pop voice students and jazz students as well. And on various occasions, we both got to collaborate with people from those disciplines, which was, again, it was a great learning experience. And they're all, it's great to work with people with passion.
Do you keep in touch with any of the people that you studied with here?
Yeah, from time to time. I used to work. I used to work at a teaching at a music school where 2 Monash people were also teaching at. So I'd have a jam with some of them every now and then, which was always good fun. But yeah, we still keep in touch with some of our Monash friends.
For me, the experience has been a bit different, just because it was longer since I was studying at Monash. So being back here, it's just like so many things are different. Literally walking here, there was a building that we've never seen before that was under construction when we were here, and it's like, damn, this looks nice. Like just the architecture and everything. But so personally, my favorite experiences were all the functions that we got to perform at for Monash Arts. We had a great time doing all of those and awards ceremonies and everything because, well, performing's great.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Look, I think we're coming to the end of this Q&A. We've got one last question from Caitlin, who asks, Juilliard is so hard to get into. It is. Congratulations. Any advice or tips you can give aspiring musicians who may want to apply?
So, basically, do your best, but be you. So a lot of musicians, they're like technically flawless and phenomenal musicians, but they're not just machines. Some of them are, but most of them, they're artists. Like they have personality in their playing, and just listening to them feels great. So focus on yourself in the music, as well as hopefully aiming for perfection, as difficult and impossible that is.
Yeah, and then also just overall, you got to have fun, I think. And, obviously Juilliard is, it's a big prestigious institution, but, if you don't get in, it's not the end of the world. And, it's just the experience of going there for the audition is, incredible. So you'd learn a lot just from going over there and doing that. And we didn't even think we were going to get in, honestly. Like we were really jet lagged, and it was, we didn't think that. Yeah, like I remember walking out of my audition and thinking, oh, I played that so badly.
Did you think about what would have happened if one of you had got in and the other didn't?
We tried not to.
Yeah, we every time Mum or Dad said something, was like, let's just wait until we find out the results. Yeah. It's just too much stress to deal with right now.
I think it's pretty astonishing that you both did get in. I mean, it's a very difficult school to get into, so it's extraordinarily, congratulations again on both getting in there, and let's hope you can get back there fairly soon to finish off your Masters.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Thank you again, Ziggy and Miles. That's the end of our broadcast, and I'd like you all again to thank them for that extraordinary concert. Stay tuned. Next week, we've got more concerts coming up. So next week, we have the wonderful South Sudanese-born artist Gordon Coang, now resident in Australia. We also have coming up Melbourne Amplified Strings with Anita Quayle and Zani Kolak. And then we also have the Inventi Ensemble, amazing small chamber ensemble of Melbourne musicians coming up in the next few weeks. So remember to keep tuning in to MLIVE. Go to monash/MLIVE, monash.edu/MLIVE for all the details. And thank you again for tuning in. We really hope you've enjoyed yourselves, and we look forward to seeing you again in the future. Thank you.
We would like to thank you and everyone involved in this experience. For more on the Sound Gallery sessions, visit monash.edu/MLive.